I found a lipstick in my husband's car that wasn't mine, and I went to find the intern. You don't have to play these games. Take it back. That night, Joe Howe found me and said, it was raining hard that night, so I gave her a ride. She's easily scared. Don't frighten her. I nodded and handed him the signed divorce agreement. I didn't threaten her. I just told her to wait a little longer. Joe Howe frowned. Are you serious? Yes, serious. Joe Howe clenched the divorce agreement, his face gloomy. Just because I drove her home. And she accidentally left a lipstick in my car. You want to divorce me? I looked at him expressionlessly. Without responding immediately, Joe Howe impatiently roared. Speak. I don't understand why he's angry. Anyone who didn't know better would think it was my fault. If it were just as simple as he says. How could I, who loves Joe Howe, be willing to divorce him? I helped him build his business from scratch to become the current CEO of Joe. Shouldn't I be the one to enjoy everything Joe Howe has? Since when did Joe Howe change? He no longer chats with me during meals, but instead holds his phone, smiling softly as he replies to the person on the other end. He started working overtime frequently, always waiting until I was asleep before sleeping in the study, claiming it was so as not to disturb me. Isn't this the behavior of someone who's changed his heart and is saving himself for someone else? Yes. I can't tolerate even a grain of sand in my eyes. Unless you fire her and make her leave this city. But how could Joe Howe be willing to do that? Hearing me say this, the anger in his eyes deepened, and his voice had no warmth. I never knew you were such a jealous person. I guess it's my fault for spoiling you. I laughed, my eyes gradually becoming moist. Her, or the divorce. Choose one. Joe Howe stormed off, saying before he left. You better think carefully. There are plenty of people who want to be in your position. I didn't feel a single ripple in my heart. My position isn't so easy to hold. Countless receptions and banquets. Forcing myself to smile along with them, I gained the reputation of being able to drink anyone under the table because I accompanied Joe Howe in his ventures. And everyone wants to toast me. Little do they know. I earned that title by drinking until I got a stomach perforation. If Joe Howe refuses to sign the divorce papers, I can only assume he's unwilling to divide the assets with me. I don't believe that someone who's changed their heart still has any affection for their former partner. If there is any. It's just guilt. To alleviate the guilt in his heart. That night, I moved out of the villa I had lived in with Joe Howe since we got married and went to a house in my name. I've never liked big environments. I only like to nest in a small place. It makes me feel safe. Joe Howe didn't agree with me doing this. He thought the bigger the house, the more it represented status. But later, he often accompanied that in turn. Nestled in her rented 10-square-meter-old house. Of course Joe Howe knew I had moved out. But he didn't stop me, instead sending Secretary Zhang over. Joe Howe knew I had moved out. But he didn't stop me. Instead, he sent Secretary Zhang over. Madam, Mr. Zhou asked me to pass on a message. He said you can throw your tantrums, but you must attend the banquet the day after tomorrow. The day after tomorrow is Joe Howe's grandmother's 80th birthday, and Joe Howe wants to celebrate it lavishly for her. Thinking about how the old lady doesn't like me. I'm not interested at all, but she's quite impressive. Raising Joe Howe, who lost his parents, all by herself. So Joe Howe respects her very much. After all, we're not divorced yet. And if any negative news comes out and causes Joe's stock to fall, it will affect my share of the money. So even if Joe Howe didn't have someone pass on the message, I would still go. Just as I entered the hall, I saw Li Yan, dressed in an expensive gown, standing beside the old lady, talking to her intimately. I was surprised. No wonder Joe Howe values her so much. It turns out the old lady also likes her. When they saw me, Their expressions turned sour. The old lady naturally showed disgust, while Li Yan looked afraid and timid. I don't know who she's putting on a show for. I've only said one sentence to her after all. Zhou Hao, in a tailored suit, walked up to me, his face not looking too happy, because everyone had arrived, and I was the grand finale. Aren't you the most punctual? Why are you late today? Grandma is very angry. Go and apologize to her first. Looking at Zhou Hao, I suddenly felt a wave of exhaustion. Apologize. Maybe in the past, but now, how could I? In the past, I would arrive the earliest, and Zhou Hao's grandmother would order me around to help in the kitchen, saying she wanted to eat the dishes I made. But every time I made them, she wouldn't touch a bite. Zhou Hao naturally helped me. If his grandmother didn't eat it, he would. But as soon as he took a bite, the old lady immediately had the servants take it away to feed the dog. There's a reason she doesn't like me. The Zhou family used to be wealthy, but they went bankrupt. But Zhou Hao is ambitious. But he unworthily married me, an orphan. The old lady wants a marriage of equal social standing. And I heard that Li Yanyan's family is quite wealthy, but she said she wanted to experience the world and told her family not to help her. The old lady probably likes that kind of quality more. I handed the gift to the aunt next to the old lady and said with a smile, Grandma, your granddaughter-in-law wishes you happiness as vast as the eastern sea and longevity as tall as the southern mountain. I have something to do, so I'll leave first. As I turned to leave, the old lady shouted with great vigor, Stop! Ignoring Zhou Hao's ugly expression. I turned back and smiled at the old lady. What's wrong, Grandma? The old lady was so angered by my attitude that her chest kept heaving, and she kept muttering that I was being rebellious. Li Yan rushed over at this moment and said earnestly to me, Sister Xinman, quickly kneel down and apologize to Grandma Zhou. Don't go against her. You'll regret it if something happens later. I frowned. Honestly, I didn't know that Li Yan and I were close enough for her to say these things to me. Sister Xinman, is that even her place to call her that? Who do you think you are? Anyone would think you were Mrs. Zhou. Who do you think you are to call her Xinman? My voice wasn't quiet, and everyone around heard me clearly. Everyone's face showed a look of shock, as if they didn't expect me to bring up the scandal so openly. Li Yanyan's face instantly turned pale because of my bluntness. People around began to whisper, and she looked at Zhou Hao with tears in her eyes, then covered her face and ran out. I only felt a sense of relief in my heart. The old lady was so angry that she picked up her crutch and swung it at me. But Zhou Hao grabbed it. Grandma, I will teach her well. Don't be angry. Secretary Zhang immediately livened up the atmosphere. But I knew that this birthday banquet had been ruined by me. Zhou Hao dragged me away, and in the deserted courtyard, he looked at me, his eyes without a trace of warmth. His tone was also very calm. You have to make a scene, don't you? I smiled. What am I making a scene about? Are you talking about me targeting that mistress? He brought Li Yan today. Did he consider my feelings? There's nothing between her and me. It's just that Grandma likes her. So I let her come over today to chat with the old lady. Can you stop making a scene? Xinman. Zhou Hao pinched his brow wearily, wanting me to compromise, just like before, when he was so tired from business that he looked like this. I always felt extremely sorry for him. This reason is also perfect. He wants me to be the one at fault. Then I will be firm. Divorce. Or her. You choose. Seeing that my attitude hadn't changed, Zhou Hao pursed his thin lips into a straight line, his eyes flashing with furious coldness. I will send her away. Actually, when I heard that he was willing to send Li Yan away, I didn't feel any happiness. Is this the reaction after utter disappointment? Zhou Hao doesn't know. I am determined to get this divorce. And he can't possibly break up with Li Yan. Because a few days later, the media photographed Zhou Hao holding hands with a strange woman. It was still Li Yan. The nail artists looked at me hesitantly, and I smiled. It's okay. Anyway, this is the last time I'm getting my nails done as Mrs. Zhou. I'm tired. Zhou Hao refuses to divorce, wants to tie me down. Then don't blame me for going to find Li Yan. But before I could act, Li Yan provoked me first. She explained to me with a look of grievance. Sister Shin Man, the media is all writing nonsense. There's nothing between Zhou and I. We absolutely didn't do anything out of line. Zhou was just afraid that a little girl like me would be in danger walking home so late. So he sent me home. Sister Shin Man, anyone cannot believe in Zhou. But you must believe in Zhou. He's already tired enough recently because of a project. You have to stand behind him. Be his strong backing. Slap. Before she could finish speaking, Li Yan had already been slapped by me. I know her intentions. She deliberately came to explain to me, and then perhaps I would get emotional and do something to her. So, I did as she wished, allowing Zhou Hao to see me. Shin Man. Zhou Hao, who had just gotten out of the car, looked gloomy. He grabbed me and pulled me away, with a force that was not gentle. I stumbled, almost losing my balance. At the same time, there was a click from a distance, and I smiled knowingly, seeing the media hiding in the distance. Zhou Hao looked at me in disbelief. Did you call them here to take pictures? I looked at him. Divorce me, and I'll take what I deserve. Otherwise, tomorrow's news will be about you beating your wife for your mistress, and Zhou's stock will definitely plummet. Zhou Hao, don't forget. I've been with you every step of the way from scratch. I know you care about your reputation. He stood there darkly, his eyes fixed on me. He asked, Shin Man, are you really willing to give all this up? I wasn't willing, but I had seen enough of the picture of him no longer loving me. I wanted to preserve the last bit of dignity, leave, and live alone. I felt it wasn't too late, and I didn't want to become a jealous woman. Zhou Hao, you're the one who let me down. Zhou Hao was silent for a long time. They'll have the lawyer draft the agreement. I smiled in relief. That night, Zhou Hao went to bed with Li Yan. How did I know? Because she wouldn't miss any opportunity to provoke me. Zhou Hao's relaxed sleeping face stung my eyes. I knew he could finally be without guilt. The entanglement of interests between Zhou Hao and me was too deep. So the agreement didn't come down so easily. I packed my luggage and went abroad for a vacation, listening to the slow violin melodies on the street. I remembered the brief time I knew Zhou Hao. Zhou Hao in the rented house, fanning me with sweat on his forehead. Wife, I swear, I won't let you suffer in the future. And I won't let Grandma go back to collecting bottles. The old lady didn't secretly collect bottles anymore. But I became a divorced woman. But I was only 32 years old. After playing for 2 months, the lawyer contacted me and said the agreement was ready. During this period, Zhou Hao did not contact me. Understood. After all, he was enjoying sweetness and freshness with Li Yan. I sold all the several properties and 2 luxury cars, adding in everything else. There were 10 billion more in my account. On the day Zhou Hao signed, he couldn't help but mock me. Just for 10 billion. Shin Man, can you have a little self-respect? For I didn't care what he said about me. 10 billion. For someone like me who doesn't have high material desires. How many lifetimes could I spend it? Before leaving, Zhou Hao also said, Yan is pregnant. You better stay away from her. My heart skipped a beat as I watched Zhou Hao's back walk away. Zhou Hao didn't know, but I was also 2 months pregnant. I didn't plan to keep it. so I didn't say anything. I just suddenly felt a little irritable. Why is there a 1-month cooling off period for divorce? I don't want to wait even for a moment, and I won't regret it. This day, I was preparing to go to the hospital for an abortion, but I found that Li Yanyan could always pinpoint my location. I think it was done by Secretary Zhang, the resourceful person by Zhou Hao's side. Sister Xin Man, I heard you divorced President Zhou. I'm here to see if you're doing well. Sister Xin Man, you're really not very smart. If I were you, I definitely wouldn't get divorced. If you gave birth to Zhou's heir, you'd have the whole Zhou family in your hands. Well, I'm not as shrewd as Li Yanyan. I'm even going to abort the Zhou's heir in my womb. If people are too idle, they easily get senile dementia when they get old. How about this? Sister Xin Man, you take care of me, feed me well, and when President Zhou and his child is born, you can also personally take care of them. They'll tell President Zhou to leave you a room in our wedding house. How about that? Li Yanyan said smugly. I looked at her coldly and couldn't help but sneer. A billionaire like me, can you afford to hire me? I heard your family had a stroke of luck and won 10 million in the lottery, but you told the old lady that your family has a listed company. If she finds out, won't she tear you apart? People are what they are. If I were as shameless as you, would it be your turn to give birth to Zhou's heir? Get out of the way. It's really unpleasant to see demons and ghosts first thing in the morning. Thinking of the abortion appointment today and the elevator I couldn't get, I didn't have a good look for Li Yanyan. Turning around to take the stairs, Li Yanyan, her face red from what I said, chased after me and grabbed me to stop me from leaving. Sister Xin Man, you haven't agreed to my proposal yet. You can't leave. But a dramatic scene occurred. In the push and pull, we both rolled down the stairs, looking at the blood gushing between my legs. I only had one thought before I passed out. That's good. I don't even need to have the surgery. But coincidentally, Li Yanyan also had a miscarriage. When I woke up, I saw Zhou Hao sitting there gloomily in the hospital room. He was hidden in the darkness, as if he wanted to take my life. His voice was also so cold that it made people tremble. Why won't you let me have my wish? I didn't know you were so jealous. If I had known, I shouldn't have told you about Yanyan's pregnancy. Xin Man, the thing I've longed for most in my life is to have my own child. But you ruined that thought for me. Yanyan had a miscarriage. Are you satisfied? I looked at this man with a pale face, unable to believe how he could blame me so indiscriminately. Longing to have your own child, or longing to have a child with her. Then what about my child? I finally couldn't help but shed tears, but I still couldn't help but laugh mockingly. Yes, I'm jealous. I'm unwilling. I want her to die. Zhou Hao rushed over, grabbing my neck in a fit of rage. I said words that meant I would never forgive him in this lifetime. 5. I wish I could make you pay with your life. Don't pretend to be wronged in front of me. I know you also had a miscarriage. He gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with intense hatred. You went abroad for 2 months. Who knows whose child it was? The string in my heart snapped completely, and I picked up the water glass next to me and threw it at him. Zhou Hao's forehead immediately oozed blood. He let go of me, staring at me with a gloomy expression. Get out. Don't let me see you again. I didn't see Zhou Hao again. Only Secretary Zhang was running around for me. On the day I was discharged from the hospital, I said to Secretary Zhang, don't always reveal my whereabouts. Be careful, I sue you. I'm sorry. 2. Miss Shin, it won't happen again. You and President Zhou are already divorced. I have no reason to unconditionally inform Miss Li of your whereabouts. Unconditionally satisfy Li Yanyan's requests. Zhou Hao really treasures her. I moved to another city and opened a flower shop, spending time with fresh flowers and plants every day. My mood started to recover little by little, but I always dream clearly, over and over again. In the middle of the night, his hatred for me. I also can't understand how love could turn into this in the end. I heard that Zhou Hao and Li Yanyan are already engaged, and the wedding is in a month. Why do I know? Because it's been trending on social media for days. As for me, the ex-wife, it's just a few brief sentences. Their relationship has faded, and they have been living separately preparing for divorce for a long time. Anyone could guess that Zhou Hao had people write it that way. After having money, he became particularly concerned about his image. He won't allow himself to be a complete scumbag. I heard that Li Yanyan is pregnant again. I didn't know Zhou Hao was so capable. Oh well, all of this has nothing to do with me anymore. Before I was about to get off work, someone pushed open my shop door. I looked up. It was Secretary Zhang. Miss Shin, long time no see. I frowned. Seeing the all-powerful Secretary Zhang doesn't make me happy. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a Rolls-Royce parked outside, with Zhou Hao and Li Yanyan sitting in the back seat. President Zhou's wedding is next month. Miss Li would like to order flowers from your flower shop. Are you available then? Available for what? Secretary Zhang pursed his lips. Available to close the shop for a few days, just to rush out the bouquets for the wedding. I shook my head. Not available. Tell her to order elsewhere. Secretary Zhang nodded and turned around. I sighed inwardly. Sometimes, the more you want something, the more others will go against you. Like now. They still want to involve me, asking the ex-wife to create bouquets for their wedding. Who comes up with this stuff? Before long, Zhou Hao and Li Yanyan entered the shop. Zhou Hao stared at me without a word, but Li Yanyan spoke first. Sister Shin Man, it's foolish not to make money when you can. Even though you're a discarded wife, there's no need to be at odds with money, is there? Sorry, I don't need that little bit of money. As I said this, I looked at Zhou Hao, my eyes full of mockery. Zhou Hao frowned slightly, his deep voice laced with displeasure. Shin Man, name your price. I curled my lips coldly. 10 billion. No bargaining. Li Yanyan glared at me. Sister Shin Man, we sincerely want to do business with you. You can be honest and name a price. My husband's money doesn't grow on trees. I don't need your business. If you don't agree, get out. And don't delay me from getting off work. 6. Everyone knows that the flower shop was just a hobby. Li Yanyan just wanted to show off in front of me. To show off that she had won against me. But only she would consider such a disgusting man like Zhou Hao a treasure. The price of 10 billion made Li Yanyan curse at me, while Zhou Hao's face turned gloomy. Finally, seeing that I was no longer paying attention to them, they left dejectedly. I tugged at the corners of my mouth mockingly, closed the shop, and went to eat my favorite hot pot. I originally thought that this matter was over, but Zhou Hao's grandmother came to my door. The spectacle of her arrival made it seem like some big shot was hitting the streets. Shin Man, I'm here today to ask you to respect the wishes of the newlyweds and make bouquets for their wedding. I put down my nail clippers and glanced at her. Who do you think you are? The old lady was so angry that she almost fainted. She couldn't believe how I, who used to obey her every word, had become like this. Have you been possessed by some evil spirit? See clearly who's standing in front of you. I was the first one to disagree when Xiao Hao wanted to marry you back then, but I couldn't go against him. Look at you, not elegant at all, and with a fiery and aggressive temper. How could you ever be worthy of being the Zhou family's wife? I rolled my eyes on the spot. If it weren't for my fiery and aggressive temper, Zhou Hao's business wouldn't have been so smooth. It was me who caused a scene at other people's companies to help him get back the final payments. It was me who sarcastically humiliated Zhou Hao's people at the dinner table. preserving his face and his precarious interests. It was me. Yes. It was all me. Why do they think I'm not good enough now? I couldn't hold back any longer, grabbed the broom beside me, and chased the group of people out. The old woman retreated, almost falling. The group, enraged, got into their cars and sped away. But I only felt a sense of relief in my heart. That evening, Joe Howe drove alone to my shop. His face was expressionless. He just looked at me quietly. I didn't even look up. Get out if you're not buying. Wrap up 999 roses. I want to give them to my wife. My hands paused, and then I looked up and smiled. 10 million. Non-negotiable. As the sound of the money arriving echoed, I pulled out the already wrapped 999 roses from the warehouse. Here you go. Don't need to see you out. Joe Howe pursed his lips tightly and said the real reason he came. You shouldn't have treated Grandma like that. I slammed the scissors in my hand down. Who are you? Who is your grandma? What gives you the right? I don't need to respect an elder who doesn't respect herself. Joe Howe. I now realize there are so many benefits after divorcing you. I didn't want to serve your grandma anymore. All of you people disgust me. Take the flowers you're giving to your mistress wife and get out of my shop. If you ever show up in my shop again, they'll expose your dirty deeds to the media. At that time, not even 10 billion will be able to buy your way out. Joe Howe didn't come again. I knew. He valued his reputation. 7 Joe Howe and Lianyan's wedding was very grand, said to have cost several hundred million. The old woman couldn't stop smiling and kept chatting intimately with Lianyan's mother. Compared to her dark face when Joe Howe and I got married, it was like heaven and earth. How did I know? Because it was broadcast on television. I sneered coldly, feeling only irony. It is said that Li Yanyan stuffed all her relatives into Joe Howe's company. How did I know? I ran into the resigned finance manager on the road, who told me a lot with great bitterness. Now Li Yanyan is in charge of the company's money and is extremely stingy with employees other than her relatives. I remembered that I had met an old classmate before, who was capable but chose to resign because he was squeezed out by his colleagues in the company. At that time, I wanted to help him and mentioned it to Joe Howe, asking if my classmate could join the company. As a result, he said, the company is not lacking in talent. Not just any Tom, Dick, or Harry can come in. He wouldn't even help one person, let alone let them near his finances. I think I should think it over, because sometimes life is like that. It's worthless. It makes you doubt your life. I stopped paying attention to their affairs and focused on my own. But soon, Joe Howe encountered his first crisis. His brother-in-law couldn't pay his workers, so they sued him in court. It became quite a scandal, and the investigation revealed that he had gambled it all away. Joe Howe was furious, and Li Yanyan, with her pregnant belly, knelt before him, begging for mercy. His heart softened, and he took care of the matter. When I learned of this, I smiled, because business was good. I hired 2 deaf-mute girls and expanded the shop. I learned sign language and started doing charity work, going to remote areas to build roads and schools. I was extremely busy and happy. When I returned again, it was already half a year later. Xiao Jiang told me in sign language that for the past 6 months, a gentleman had been coming to the store to buy flowers, always buying 999 roses, saying they were for his wife. I curled my lip, feeling like he was a persistent ghost. Later, I learned that Joe Howe had not been doing well for the past 6 months. After his brother-in-law's matter was resolved, his father-in-law got into trouble. I heard that his father-in-law was unwilling to be so ordinary and always dreamed of becoming a great entrepreneur. So he invested everywhere. The money for the investments, of course, was secretly given to him by his daughter. Li Yan, who worked in finance. Over these 6 months, by the time Zhou Hao found out, he had already lost 500 million. So, he could only take his father-in-law to learn how to do business. The first step was naturally socializing. But the old man didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Drunk, he boasted to the business partners about how great he used to be, saying that everyone in front of him was insignificant. The partnership fell apart, and that company even declared that they would never cooperate with Zhou's again. Zhou Hao was angry with Li Yan because of this. But when he saw the Sunto delivered Li Yan, his heart softened again. He waved his hand and said, "Forget it." I couldn't help but sigh. Zhou Hao truly loved Li Yan. After returning, I began planning to open supermarkets in areas with scarce resources. Some people might think it wouldn't be profitable. But it didn't matter. The main thing was to have money. We'll talk about it when the money runs out. But because the supermarket had a complete variety of goods, a daily supply of fresh vegetables and fruits, and low prices, and I occasionally brought specialties from City A as gifts, it unexpectedly became a little famous. Watching the smiles on the faces of the elderly because they could eat cheap, fresh food, my heart gradually filled with satisfaction. But as some people go uphill, others begin to go downhill. Li Yan's child was born, but with intellectual disabilities. Zhou Hao was incredibly shocked. For 3 generations, his family had no genes for mental disabilities, so he had Secretary Zhang investigate Li Yan's family and learned that her grandmother had a congenital intellectual disability. Her 6th uncle also had it, and so did her cousin, and now, Li Yan's child. The old lady cried her heart out and fainted. She already had deep opinions about the trouble caused by Li Yan's younger brother. And now that her grandson was the same, she hated Li Yan. She wanted Zhou Hao to divorce her. Zhou Hao didn't dare let his grandmother know about the trouble Li Yan's father had caused, or she would have been so angry she'd vomit blood. A sense of regret rose in his heart, and he suddenly thought of his ex-wife, Xin Man, that sassy and strong, yet elegant and poised woman. He used to think Xin Man was meddlesome, but now it seemed she was the least troublesome. Later, he investigated the date of Xin Man's miscarriage and was almost certain the child was his. This made him even more afraid to appear before her. He wondered if she was doing well. I was completely unaware of Zhou Hao's inner thoughts. Even if I knew, with his pride, he wouldn't admit he was wrong. He would continue to persevere stubbornly. Because of the child issue, Zhou Hao didn't dare to have any more children with Li Yan. He told Li Yan to take care of the child herself and preferably not let the old lady see him. Li Yan agreed verbally. But in her heart, she felt that this was the Zhou family's grandson. If she and Zhou Hao didn't have any more children, then this child would be the Zhou family's heir. Even if the old lady was sad and unwilling, she would soften and compromise. Moreover, she clearly felt that Zhou Hao was a bit cold towards her. This was something she couldn't tolerate. She took the child to the old lady and cried her heart out. When the old lady saw the mentally challenged grandson, she trembled with anger, unable to utter a word. Coincidentally, Li Yan's father learned that she was going to the old house today and wanted the old lady to persuade his daughter. Ever since his investment failed and he lost hundreds of millions, his daughter had refused to give him any more money. As soon as he mentioned it, the old lady's eyes widened. She had a brain hemorrhage from the anger, and was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. The news of the Zhou family's old lady's paralysis reached me just as I returned to City A. When I heard it, I was just surprised, because when she came to cause trouble for me back then, she was rosy-cheeked and full of vigor. Only 2 years had passed. How could she be paralyzed? I didn't have time to think too much. The supermarket's popularity prompted me to expand the store. I hired unemployed people from there. I put Tong, a mentally challenged man who had grown up eating food from different families, in charge of cleaning the supermarket entrance and living in the supermarket. He clapped his hands happily, although he was mentally challenged. He was extremely meticulous and kept the place exceptionally clean. I trusted everyone. The villagers were also grateful to me. The first Fu Lai Lu supermarket officially opened. I stood in the center, taking photos with everyone. A supermarket in a small county town wasn't enough to cause any big waves. But working hard with all my heart kept me busy. That's my current attitude. 9 After the old lady became paralyzed, Zhou Hao and Li Yanyan separated. He moved into his own apartment, refusing to see Li Yanyan no matter how she tried to find him. Because of the misfortunes after his second marriage, he began to wonder if it was retribution. But he quickly hardened his face. How could this be retribution? It was Shin Man who was determined to divorce. He never wanted to abandon her. Perhaps she had a lover outside, so she was in such a hurry to divorce. She was the one who let him down. I knew nothing about Zhou Hao's thoughts. It can only be said that people are watching what you do. His retribution came quickly. Li Yanyan's uncle, one of the relatives she brought into the company, ran away with a huge sum of public funds. He went abroad overnight, and it was difficult to catch him. When Zhou Hao learned of this, he sat in the office all night, the ashtray full of cigarette butts. Because his funding chain was broken, my supermarket business was booming, plus other investments. I had long doubled the 1 billion. And because I insisted on doing public welfare, I was interviewed. Seeing me on TV with a rosy complexion and beautiful temperament, Zhou Hao finally regretted it. He returned to the villa and saw Li Yanyan, who was taking care of the child, disheveled and wearing pajamas. Zhou Hao filed for divorce. Li Yanyan disagreed. She was hysterical, crying and laughing. In the end, she even wanted to die with the child, which made Zhou Hao temporarily afraid to mention it. When I saw Zhou Hao again, I was shocked. In the heavy snow, he was only wearing a thin sweater. And he had become extremely thin from raising money for the company everywhere. Zhou Hao walked up to me, his eyes red, and said in a hoarse voice, "I regret it. Chin Man, please, come back to me." I raised my hand and slapped him, because if I didn't stop him, the delicious food I had for dinner would have come out. Zhou Hao's fair face was imprinted with 5 red finger marks, and his eyes were full of astonishment. I immediately called Li Yanyan, grateful that she always came to provoke me from time to time, so I was able to have her contact information. Li Yanyan came with the child, crying and laughing loudly on the side of the road. She even wanted to hit me, but Zhou Hao blocked her. Sharp nails scratched Zhou Hao's face. I found it unlucky and immediately got in the car and went to the airport. I'm really busy. I don't have time to deal with this crazy couple. Zhou Hao didn't come to me again, because his company couldn't operate and a very serious crisis occurred. He was struggling to deal with it. I know why he was crazy that night. Because he wanted my 1 billion. What a joke. 1 billion is mine. He also couldn't divorce Li Yanyan because her family was so shameless, demanding outrageous compensation. Zhou Hao would be skinned alive if he divorced. He had to sell assets to fill the company's hole. In the end, only a villa and a car were left, barely getting the company through the crisis. But before Zhou Hao could catch his breath, his father-in-law was arrested for stabbing someone to death in the street, and the man was extremely vile, shouting as he was being arrested, "My son-in-law is Zhou Hao, the president of Zhou Corporation. Just you wait. Hell take care of you." This sentence led to Zhou Hao being exposed by netizens. The recovering company fell into crisis again, and at the same time, his arrogant voice message from when he had just cheated with Li Yanyan was also revealed. "Just cause trouble. They'll cover for you." This was a screen recording of a voice message Li Yanyan sent to her friend to show off at the time. Netizens began to feel sorry for me. And the entanglement between me and Zhou Hao was also made public. Zhou Hao and Li Yanyan were scolded by everyone. Zhou Corporation went bankrupt, and all of Zhou Hao and Li Yanyan's assets were cleared, forcing them to rent a dilapidated house with their children. Li Yanyan followed Zhou Hao closely, afraid that he would come to me to reconcile, but she couldn't accept the change in circumstances and one day blurted out, angrily scolding Zhou Hao for being incompetent, etc. She was strangled to death in bed by Zhou Hao, along with the children. As for old Mrs. Zhou, she was beaten by the caregiver every day and quietly passed away one day. Zhou Hao was sentenced to death, and I couldn't help but sigh when I found out. Miss Shin, that's all. I smiled and nodded, and began to accept the interview. The supermarket grew bigger and stronger, and I opened branches across the country, always staying true to my original aspirations and insisting on doing public welfare. Life has only gotten better and better. And Zhou Hao, who betrayed sincerity, exemplified what is called retribution. The end.